Hi there, so in this video tutorial what we're going to look at is how we can make a database that we can later use in our PHP on our website. So for example, we might want to make a database that contains items in a shop. We might want to make a database that contains names and addresses for a newsletter. We might want to have a database that contains usernames and passwords that allows people to log into our site. So there's a whole range of things we can do with databases. But to get started, we just need to be able to create a simple database, which I'm going to do for a really simple online shop. So there are lots of database tools that we can use to try and help us with this. The most common one for a MySQL database is this thing called phpMyAdmin. So our phpMyAdmin is located at phpMyAdmin.helios.csesalford.com. So when I connect into this, I will be asked to log in. So this is my normal username, but it's very important to remember that this is your database password. So it's not your server password, it's not your ITS password, it's your database password. If you can't remember what this is, then you need to check out the other video that talks about how to reset or check your database password. Okay, so once I log in, I can see my area or my database. We can completely ignore this thing that says information schema. That's something that the system's using to manipulate the database structure and everything. So here I am, EES389, and that is the name of my database. Inside my database, I have got a set of tables. So you won't have any tables if it's a first time through. I've got a couple of tables here because of things that I've already done. So we can see that I've got a database table called shop and a database table called test. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new database table, which is what you will need to do. And because I already have one called shop, I'm just going to call this shop1, but you will need to make yours shop. So here are the ways, the boxes for me controlling the structure or setting up the structure of my database. So the first thing that I'm going to do is have a column or database field which is the ID. So every element in my database is going to have a unique ID. That's going to be an integer value, so it's going to be a whole number value, and there's a couple of things that are important here that I want to make the index the primary key. So on the index, I'm going to use a drop down to set that as primary. So that means that the ID will be a unique identifier. So we can't have the same ID repeated in our database. The other thing I'm going to do is going to tick this little box here that says auto increment. And what that means is that the index, every time I add a new element into my database, every time I add a new row, then what will happen is the ID will automatically be incremented, so by the system. So I don't need to know what numbers I've had already and where we're up to with that. The database will take care of that for me. Okay, so I'm going to set up this database to contain a set of products for my Hayfield Holistics online soap shop. So I'm going to have the name of my product, and I need to pick a variable type. The easiest one, if we're not quite sure, is use this one called varchar, which allows us to have a sort of generic variable type. So for the moment, let's use varchar for everything. I'm going to specify a length here. So for the length, what I'd like to do is try and think about what's the longest possible name that I might want to use, add a bit of a safety margin, and put a value in there for the number of characters, the maximum number of characters for this field. So I'm going to just put 100 in there. That's the only thing I need to do. I'm going to have a field called type, which is going to tell me I'm going to put 30 in there. So type is going to tell me what type of product I've got. So is it a soap? Is it a gift box? Is it a hand cream? Is it a face cream? And I'm going to have another box called fragrance in here. Again, let's put that in there. I need another column. I need another column for my price. So what I'm going to do is add one more column here, and I'm going to put price in there. For price, for the moment, I'm going to use a varchar variable type. I know that there are variables for currency going on down here, but for the moment, let's use this type because it just makes life a lot easier, and I'm going to put 10 in there. Okay, so what is important, I think, is that you set up the database correctly right at the beginning. It's really hard to change this later. So what you need to think about is splitting up these fields, putting information in a set of fields, and you need to think carefully about how people might want to interact or search with your database at a later point. So if you put all of the information in one field, so if I put here, it's a soap, it's a lavender handmade soap, all in the same field, it makes your database difficult to search. If I have separate fields for a lot of these things, then it means I can search for soaps by searching the type field. I can search for particular fragrances that I like by searching the fragrance field, or I can search for particular prices that I'm prepared to pay by searching the price field. So it's important to have the information in your database separated out into separate fields like this. So once we're sorted with all of that, I can click on save, and you can see that my database has been created here. So let me look at my database by clicking on it, and it's quite a complicated screen, but what we can see is that we've got the names of the fields here. We haven't got any data, and so what I want to do right now is insert some values. So I'm going to start right at the beginning. Remember, I don't need to insert a value for ID because that is going to be auto incremented by the system. So for name in here, what I'm going to do is write the full name, the full name of my product, or the name that's actually printed on the label of the product. I'm going to put in here a type. What's important with this is thinking about use of capital letters. So if you're going to have a type, and that type is going to be soap, then it's always got to be spelt the same way, otherwise you've got potential problems with searching for it. So let's put soap with all small letters in here. The same thing for the fragrance. Let's put lavender, and let's put the price as £4. And then the next thing I'm going to put in is rose. Let me call this English rose soap. And again, this is of type soap. The fragrance obviously is rose, and the price is £4. Okay, and then what we can do is once we've done that, we can press go, and you can see that actually what has happened is that this graphical interface that I'm using here has generated, in the background, has generated an SQL statement that says insert into that database, that table, these fields and these values. Okay, so what's actually happening when we do an insert is that, or when we do anything with this structure, is we're actually generating SQL statements. So once we have done that, we can keep building information in our shop. We can add, more and more things into the shop. So I suggest that you add a few items into your shop until you have something that looks a little bit like this. So a couple of soaps, a couple of gift boxes, a couple of face creams, or whatever you're doing in your particular application. Once we've got the database built up, we'll have a look at using SQL, and we'll have a look at using PHP with it.